Not surprising in any meaningful capacity. All right. Ukrainian forces are making new advancements in the south. Russia is getting kind of cumstered and dumpstered a little bit.
The south, just days after Ukraine took back a key city. Chief Foreign Correspondent Ian Pannell is on the scene. Good morning, Ian.
Yeah, good morning, George. We're in Slovyansk. This is a key city in the Donbass that just a month ago was right on the front line and looked in imminent danger of being taken by Russia. Today, the front line has been pushed well back, and it is being so almost on a daily basis. But we're also seeing not just Russian forces in retreat around here, but across Ukraine. This morning, another major breakthrough for Ukrainian forces. Troops in the south pushing through Russia's front lines towards the city of Kherson, liberating towns and villages along the way. Ukraine seized thousands of square miles of territory since going on the offensive, pushing Russian troops back in the northeast and reclaiming parts of the eastern Donbass region, areas Putin illegally annexed on Friday. Over the weekend, a key transportation and logistics hub, Liman, falling to the Ukrainians.
We're very close to the front lines and the liberated town of Liman. It's just down the road there. We're seeing a lot of military activity, a lot of military vehicles, and the mood amongst the soldiers is buoyant.
Captain Alexander led his men in the liberation of Liman.
How do you account for this sudden turnaround? We've seen it in Kharkiv. Now we're seeing it here in Donbass.
He says it's down to the bravery of the troops and the support of America and allies.
I'm very scared if Ukraine starts winning and Russia gets desperate. Putin historically doesn't make good decisions when backed into a corner. I think Putin just doesn't make good decisions, period. Like, just in general. I've yet to see a good one. I'm waiting. So a couple things to talk about here. It is a little worrisome that the State Department adjacent media is basically just saying, like, oh, they're just going to have a little tactical nukey boy, like a nukey poo, okay? A baby nuke. McNuke. A McNuke, you know what I mean? Just don't worry about that. And I'm going to be honest with you, like, that is genuinely worrisome because it almost makes it seem like, for fuck's sake, Putin doesn't make decisions. Why are you eating propaganda? Also, leaders don't make decisions. Brother, who makes the decision in Russia then? If there's one country where you can, like, actually hold a singular individual responsible, is Russia. What the fuck do you mean? This guy is always losing his mind. Whenever I talk about whenever I talk about Russia, he just, like, pops off. The oligarchy. Yeah, who control oligarchy? Sure, in normal instances, you're right. But let's be real. Because of 9/11, Pakistani American, bro. Let's be real. If there's one country where the oligarchy is still controlled by the fucking main guy, it's Russia. So you're wrong. Anyway, U.S. government said that if Russia uses a tactical nuke in Ukraine, the U.S. will destroy the entire Black Sea fleet. Yeah, but they're also like, they literally said, here's what they said and here's what they didn't say. They didn't say, we're legitimately worried about like a serious nuclear action. They also haven't really covered the trains as much, which is kind of weird because normally I feel like you would cover them nonstop in any other circumstance. And what I'm talking about, of course, is the equipment moving into the rare video shows Russia moving equipment belonging to a nuclear weapons unit. Like, I am a little surprised that it is not all over the fucking all over news media. Nuke transport most likely a routine relocation for OPSEC, not an offensive move. I mean, it's going towards Ukraine. But regardless, it almost fucking feels like America's just like saying, hey, if Russia nukes a Ukrainian territory because they claim it's theirs and that Ukraine took it back or something, then they just do it. You know, we're not going to take any additional retaliation. They said that they haven't changed their nuclear counter strategy in any meaningful capacity. And everyone within the State Department that has been on the media has kept stressing the point over and over again that it's like, it's not a nuke that's like going to hit Europe. If they do actually deploy a nuke, it's not going to be a nuke that actually hits like, I don't know, mainland America. It's not the Cold War. It's just going to hit Ukraine. And the reality is, if it did hit any part of Ukraine, it's still a fucking nuke. It's still devastating. It would be an escalation if they did something, though, right? It would be an insane escalation. Yes. Anyway. I believe they said the NATO will destroy the entire Russian military, including the Black Sea Fleet. A senior U.S. defense official has said that the reports of the Russian train allegedly carrying nuclear weapons heading towards Ukraine appear to be false based on U.S. analysis. Senior U.S. defense official has said, okay, at least that's good. Isn't like one speck of nuclear dust in NATO is an act of war? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what will happen, and I really hope that it does not happen. But yes, a nuclear, a tactical nuke, small nuke, whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. A nuke is a nuke. And if you deploy a fucking nuke in Ukraine, that is an act of war, and it's a major escalation. What's the money line on the nuke in Ukraine prop bet? Okay, stop. Please don't make any predictions. Yeah, I know. The Veil official. Russia drops a nuke. Hasan, whoa, L, dude. Bro, Atriok wins, fails, Russia edition. XQC, huge drama, big nuke. I don't like this. Because, like, actually, I do like this because now I have a title already. You know what I mean? Thank you. How should they respond? Dude, I don't even fucking know. I don't even know. What I do know is, while Pootie Poo is talking about fucking how he's going to potentially nuke Ukraine, okay? Zelensky earlier today stated that he is not going to deal with Vladimir Putin. Like, he's not going to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. And the thing that I have seen so consistently from the Ukrainian side, for some weird fucking reason, is that they can't just take the fucking W and then be like, all right, let's meet you at the table while we're winning. I don't know why they get W's, right? And it's fucking great. And it's like they're winning back territories, okay? And then they immediately go, okay, now we're never going to deal with you ever again. Fuck you. And that, in and of itself, is insane if you want a ceasefire to occur. Like, I do not understand what the tactical decision is when you're fucking dicking down and having Russian forces retreat. Why negotiate when you're winning? To have an upper hand. What the fuck do you mean? To get some level of, to be able to literally continue having a conversation, at least, even if you're not going to get the absolute fucking ceasefire and the final treaty, the best thing you can do in this situation is to, like, literally get in a fucking, get at the table again and have conversations started again. At the very worst, you're going to get a shitty deal, which you can point to and say, hey, that's the shitty deal that you gave us back then. Even if you continue winning after that and you continue dicking down Russian forces after that, you could just go back and be like, well, that was a shittier deal. We have better leverage now. We have better bargaining power now. There is no way that you shouldn't try to get to the table at every stage of this. If you want this war to end. Stop writing Ukraine has nukes too. No, it doesn't. Shut the fuck up. They foolishly gave them back, okay? That guy wrote Ukraine has nukes too like 11 times in the chat. Their goal now is to return all territory. No shitty deal. Okay, but what about you stick to your line and not talk about bigger stuff? Here we go. We don't care. Let them boom the entirety. We never cared and it's never happened. Here we go. Here we go. What? What about you stick to your line and not talk about bigger stuff? Are you talking to me? Does Ukraine have nukes now? Am I wrong about that too? Ukraine fell into the rookie hole. They failed to follow through on the HasanAbi doctrine. Don't give up the nukes. It's always nostalgic watching people who are essentially political children react to their first national war they're emotionally involved with, not going the way they wanted to. The idea of negotiating with the perceived bad side makes their blood boil. I respect the naivete. Dude, that every war ends. Okay? Every fucking war ends. Every war ultimately ends. Doesn't matter if one side nukes the other side. Doesn't matter if the other side fucking rolls over the forces and win back all their territories. Or it doesn't matter if it ends with a fucking ceasefire. All wars end. And the only thing that is consistent in the end of that war is that there's a treaty signed. Okay? So if that's the final goal, then try to get to that when you have an upper hand as best as you can. Ukraine does have nukes. I don't know how you're so confident, so wrong. If you knew better, you just run the ad break instead of fuck you! No ad break debates while I'm talking about Russia, Ukraine. I'm too susceptible to fucking getting trolled. That's cheap. That's cheap. That's cheap. That's cheap. That's fucking cheap. You're cheap. You're a cheap person. How did you fall for that? Because anyone that says anything in the chat about like Russia, Ukraine, I'm going to read it. A couple months ago, Zelensky was down to push the conversation of Crimea 15 years into the future. Okay? Straight up, in the Antalya conversations that they had, in the talks that they had in Turkey, Zelensky's people and Putin's people negotiated a 15-point conditional surrender. Okay? Pro tips? Whenever I see an emo from some like random fucking people that I've never seen in my chat, I'm like, I don't even know why I just read that. Anyway, top of the hour, there's a 6-second ad break. I'm going to run the fucking ad break right now. God damn it. Can't survive nukes, but you can survive the top of the hour ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. Chatter means HasanAbi doctrine is a bro tip. Yeah, no. Chatter's being a fucking old, washed, neck-bearded weirdo loser. Anyway. The 60-second ad break is upon us. Here's the 1-minute ad break now. Nuke is for boomers. Where is Nuke 2? Ukraine can negotiate a cease for after their Kherson offensive slows down. I don't think that they're, I mean, hopefully, yes. But why is Zelensky coming out and saying, I will not talk to any Russian official unless Vladimir Putin is no longer the leader of Russia? It's an insane thing. He's like, regime change must happen in Russia. He said earlier today that regime change must happen in Russia before Ukraine will negotiate with Russia. And it's not like you're winning, man. I mean, you won territories back, right? But that's crazy. People saying based don't realize you saw the babushkas. You saw the fucking babushkas yesterday saying, We take off one hat and we put on another hat. They're beating us from both sides. Ukrainian militias beat us. Then the Russians come in and then they beat us and they kill us. We're the ones who are getting fucked over in the middle. You want to stop that. That's the main goal. So the people do not suffer any longer. And if that's your main goal, and since this war is currently happening on Ukrainian soil, inside of Ukrainian territories, the goal is to stop that from happening. The goal is to stop the bloodshed of Ukrainian people. Like, I get why America is like, no, keep fighting. You know, we'll just give you weapons. Keep fighting. Okay? I get why America says that, because they get to make money. I understand why America doesn't give a shit about the end of this war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky signed a decree stating that talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin over Ukraine's fate would be impossible. Yeah. We are ready for a dialogue with Russia, but with another president of Russia. This comes as Ukraine's military continues to claim battlefield victories in the east. Ukraine's military is advancing towards the Russian-held Luhansk region after its troops recaptured the city of Liman on Saturday. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces reportedly took territory along the Dnieper River in the south on Monday. It's like under Saddam, if they took over like some Iraqi territory back from the American military or something, and then Saddam was like, I'm not going to talk to you guys unless America is no longer, unless George W. Bush is resigned. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, what do you mean? They're still... And for the record, it's not like we want that to end either. Breaking news, Biden administration confirms new $625 million package of weapons for Ukraine, which includes 4 HIMARS launchers and ammo, 1,655 millimeter howitzers, 75,000 155 millimeter artillery rounds, 500 precision-guided 155 millimeter artillery rounds, 1,155 millimeter rounds of remote anti-armor mine systems, RAM systems. This is not ironic. This person posted this because he thinks this is dope. Jesus Christ. 1,105 millimeter howitzers, 30,120 millimeter mortar rounds, Max Pro mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles, 200,000 rounds of small arms ammunition, obstacle emplacement equipment, Claymore anti-personnel munitions, and field equipment. I'll fight to the last Ukrainian from my Brooklyn apartment. Yeah, that's what it is for the most part. Ukraine hopefully gets the A-10 as well, sooner than later. Another interesting to note in terms of Ukraine's peace dealings with Russia, the Ukrainian military has grown extremely powerful in the past months, and it was already very powerful before that. So even if they wanted to negotiate, it's debatable whether the dozens of paramilitaries armed with U.S. weapons would even want to heed to peace talks without gaining all territory, Hasan. I know I made this assessment early on, saying that these guys are going to have a profound amount of power as they scream bloody murder, understandably, and that's going to make it harder for Zelensky to genuinely control the conversation. Zelensky approved the decision of the National Security Council of Ukraine on the impossibility of holding negotiations with Putin. Why go to the negotiation table when you're pushing them back? Because that's when you have leverage.